Good morning, everyone. Today's Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. We're here this morning for our Administrative Matters meeting. I call the meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally and Commissioner John Kafalis. We also have on the dais to our right, we have from the Clerk and Recorder's Office, Deirdre O'Neill. We have our County Manager, Lorinda Volker. From the Public Affairs Office, we have Tom Clayton. And from our Commissioner's Office, we have Sarah Martin. And so we will begin the agenda with public comment. We give folks 3 minutes for public comment. We have one person signed up. We'll certainly allow other people if they'd like, but I would ask Zach Thode to come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and you can introduce yourself.
Yes, Zach Thode here, Livermore, North Fort Collins. I'll try to get this done in 3 minutes. For starters, I just want to thank the Board of County Commissioners and previous boards for the opportunity to serve on the Ag Advisory Board for 12 years. My term ended in November, and I appreciate your commitment to getting new ideas in, and that's a fantastic thing. So I have been relieved of my options on the Ag Advisory Board, and I just wanted to kind of thank you and remind us of what all the work we did there. George Wallace sent a very nice letter months ago actually, about all the work we've done. But we've done some extensive work on immigration and hemp and manure storage and non-point source pollution and the evolution of the ag economy and private lands and ag districts and water sharing and water project coordination and water project feedback. Lots and lots of work was done out of the Ag Advisory Board for the last decade and more, and I just want to make sure that we appreciate all the work that the Ag Advisory Board does. They provide a good service to the county, and then secondly, I'm looking for advice from you guys, what the next steps are. I'm a very interested citizen, and I've been liberated from one of my duties, so I'm curious what your input would be, but I'm exploring how I can help continue to work on improving relationships between the Open Lands Advisory Board and the ag community. That was always a struggle on the Ag Advisory Board, and I don't know if that's something that I can do as a maybe an applicant to the Open Lands Advisory Board or in some other capacity. But I do look for your feedback. And the other thing I'd like to quickly discuss is, and I asked Commissioner Kafalis yesterday about this, but I know Eric Freed is retiring this fall. There's a number of contractors and engineers that do a lot of work with the building department. Is there an opportunity for a group of folks to help with the rehiring of the next building department manager? Eric's done a fantastic job. Sometimes I've been really hard on him, but and it's reciprocal. We've pushed each other both ways. But Eric's done a fantastic job, and I do appreciate all the work he's done. And so if there's an opportunity for contractors, engineers, or maybe some select homeowners to help with that next transition, I think it might help us into the future, maybe relieve some of the tension that comes with that position. So those are some quick thoughts. Again, thank you for my duration on the Ag Advisory Board.
Thank you, Zach. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? I don't see any hands raised. And Sarah, we didn't have anyone online or on the phone, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So we will close public comment. We'll bring it back to the commissioners. Commissioners, any response? Commissioner Kafalis.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I just want to express my appreciation for Zach Thode's many years of service, certainly with the Ag Advisory Board, and in many other ways to try to elevate the importance of preserving working farms and ranches. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm sure you have plenty of ideas on how you can engage with the county, and we appreciate that. I would note that one opportunity is that our next Ag Advisory Board, we will have a bit of an update from our building official on building code issues. If you have specific questions that you feel should be discussed or need to be answered, I would welcome those questions sent to me ahead of time, and I can share that with Eric and other folks that will be at the next Ag Advisory Board meeting. Regarding the transition that you referenced, as I mentioned in the text message, this is not an appointed position. Lorinda can speak to this, but it's not an appointed position. It's an internal hiring process, and typically that is not put out for like a public committee. But maybe Lorinda, you could, when it's appropriate, you could make sure I'm representing accurate information. But thank you so much for all your work, and I look forward to continuing to work with you. And I'm hoping that someday I'll get an invitation to come back up to Livermore.
It's open.
Yeah.
Open invitation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Lorinda, did you want to say a few words since you were?
Sure,
Madam
certainly.
Chair, I wanted to say a few words too. So
Yeah, no, I just, she was mentioned in
Okay.
in John's responses. That's why I wanted to make sure that we did that.
Yeah, thanks. I want to.
So thank you, Commissioners. I'm not sure what the process will look like for recruiting. We will advertise the position, probably inside and outside the organization because it is a very small department. And we often will have an opportunity for a reception or for folks to meet the applicants. I'll talk to Leslie Ellis about that part of the process. We don't want to make it too complex that it takes so long for the applicants to get through it. At the same time, we do recognize this is a position that does touch the public, and it would be good to have some kind of a person on a panel at least to be able to participate. So thank you for that. And I was going to reach out to you after. Now I've told you what I was going to say, so we can catch up.
Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to mention what Lorinda just mentioned. And Zach, just want to thank you for your decades of experience and feedback to the county. You have been involved with the comprehensive plan. I ran into the comprehensive plan, the water thing. So I feel like you have had a lot of influence on a lot of policies and a lot of things here at the county. And so I want to and thank you for that and your perspectives. You have a unique perspective, and just know that it's not your experience and your feedback was valued. And also, we have lots of other folks too. We want to give them a chance to have some feedback and some influence as well, and some input. So I just want to thank you for your service, because I do know you work very hard and you were very involved with your family, and serving on boards and commissions like this do take a lot of your own time, and they're all volunteer. So thanks for being such a passionate member of Larimer County. Thank you.
Yeah, Zach, I'll echo my thanks. Thanks for all your work on the Ag Board. And thanks for reminding us some of the work that you did, because I think you've done good work. And, that's a connection that we always want to have in our community. You've often represented the rural voice and been in a lot of spaces where we've needed volunteers to speak up. And so I appreciate your service. And certainly we have applications being opened in the springtime for spring recruitment for boards and commissions. So I'd encourage you to apply for those, and we will certainly keep you in mind if other opportunities come up. But I'm really grateful for the fact that you're still offering your service even after 12 years. That's a long time on the board, and we hear that, and we will certainly look for opportunities for you to plug in. So thank you very much. So with that, we will move on to the next item on the agenda. That's approval of the minutes from last week. I'll ask Commissioner Shattuck McNally to make that motion.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the minutes for the week of February 17, 2025.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. And then we will move on to our upcoming schedule review. And I believe this will be for 2 weeks, since we will not be meeting next week. So, Sarah, I will let you do the honors.
This is the Commissioner's schedule for March 3rd through the 8th, 2025. On Monday, March 3rd, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioners Stevens and Shattuck McNally will attend the 2025 National Association of Counties Legislative Conference, Washington, D.C. On Tuesday, March 4th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioners Stevens and Shattuck McNally will attend the 2025 National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. From 9:50 a.m. to 10:50 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend a BizWest Affordable Housing Work Session at the Laurie Student Center at 1101 Center Avenue Mall in Fort Collins. From 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Parks Advisory Board meeting at the Horsetooth Information Center at 4200 West County Road 38E in Fort Collins. On Wednesday, March 5th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the Virtual Extension Advisory Committee meeting. From 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Dunn Elementary 4th grade class mock commissioners hearing at the Poudre School District Boardroom at 2407 Laporte Avenue in Fort Collins. From 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will attend the NOCO Foundation President's Lunch and Learn at 4745 Wheaton Drive in Fort Collins. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the Larimer County Security Meeting at the Justice Center at 201 Laporte Avenue in Fort Collins. From 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the Virtual Regional Opioid Abatement Learning Forum. From 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be a work session with Mark Pfaffinger, Support Services Director, regarding internal services in the Commissioners' Conference Room on the second floor. From 3:45 p.m. to 4 p.m., Commissioners will participate in the virtual Board of Appeals Zoom interview discussion. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally may attend the Associated Students of Colorado State University State of the Association address at the Iris and Michael Smith Alumni Center at 701 West Pitkin Street in Fort Collins. From 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual North Interstate 25 Coalition meeting. On Thursday, March 6th, from 1 to 4 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the Boyd Lake Conference Room on the first floor or virtually via Google Meet. From 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will participate in the virtual Go No Co 34 Transportation Management Organization Board meeting. From 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Council meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. On Friday, March 7th, from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally will participate in the virtual State Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. From 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the State Board of Human Services meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 1575 Sherman Street in Denver or virtually via Zoom. From 9:30 a.m. to 12 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may attend the Regional Air Quality Council Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it'll be on the 4th floor boardroom at 1445 Market Street in Denver or virtually via Zoom. From 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. Legislative Briefing meeting. And this is the Commissioner schedule for March 10th through the 14th. On Monday, March 10th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Behavioral Health Technical Advisory Committee meeting via Zoom. From 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Behavioral Health Consumer Advisory Committee meeting via Zoom. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session with Leslie Ellis, Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources, in the Commissioners' Conference Room on the second floor. From 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., there will be land use items with the Development Review Team. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the hearing room on the first floor or virtually via Zoom. On Tuesday, March 11th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be an Administrative Matters meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual National Association of Counties Energy, Environment, and Land Use meeting. From 1:30 p.m. to 2 p.m., there will be legislative direction to county staff in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. From 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be administrative direction to county management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. From 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Environmental and Science Advisory Board meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the Carter Lake Conference Room on the first floor or virtually via Zoom. On Wednesday, March 12th, from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Workforce Development Board meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Big Thompson Watershed Health Partnership meeting. From 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual National Association of Counties Rural Auction Caucus meeting. From 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Commissioner Kafalis will attend the Agricultural Advisory Board meeting in the Larimer County Extension Office at 1525 Blue Spruce Drive in Fort Collins. From 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., there will be a Commissioner/Planning Commission work session. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the Boyd Lake Conference Room on the first floor or virtually via Zoom. On Thursday, March 13th, from 7:30 a.m. to 10 a.m., Commissioner Stevens will attend the Fort Collins Downtown Development Advisory Board meeting at the Innisphere Ventures at 320 Vine Drive in Fort Collins. From 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., commissioners may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. Steering Committee meeting. From 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally will attend the United Way of Larimer County Women Give Luncheon at the Embassy Suites at 4705 Clydesdale Parkway in Loveland. From 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may attend the Office on Aging Advisory Council meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 1501 Blue Spruce Drive in Fort Collins or virtually via Zoom. From 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Fort Collins Urban Renewal Authority Finance Committee meeting. From 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Non-Attainment Area Air Pollution Mitigation Enterprise meeting. On Friday, March 14th, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Colorado Counties, Inc. Board meeting. From 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., commissioners may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Governing Board meeting. And from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., commissioners may attend the Colorado Counties, Inc. Steering Committee meetings. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 800 North Grant Street, Suite 500 in Denver, or virtually via Zoom.
Thank you, Sarah. Any corrections or additions? Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you, Sarah, for all the work that you do. I know it's a lot with 2 weeks. Let's go way back to the 6th. I am attending I don't think you mentioned this, CCAT, Public Health and Human Services and Housing Committee meeting at 11:30 virtual. I will be attending that as a commissioner. Just trying to find ones that are on here that have lots of meetings, other meetings happening on either side of that. Also, on the 7th, CCI legislative briefing from 12 to 1, I'll be attending that. March 10th. I don't know if you mentioned the Forest Health Council Leveraging Resources Committee on March 10th from noon to 1. That's a virtual meeting. The 12th of March, I don't know if you put, which one was that? Oh, CCAT, all-member hybrid meeting. It starts at 4:30. I'll be in that until we have our, and that's all virtual, till the Planning Commission meeting starts. So I'll be in that. And then on the 15th, I haven't put it on the calendar yet, but since we're talking about it, I will be doing a presentation. I believe it starts at 1 with the Meadowdale Homeowners Association in Estes Valley. And that will be at the, right now it's virtual, but it might get moved to a church, which I can give you the address later, but right now it's virtual. And that's from 1 to 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kafalis, any additions or corrections?
Just a couple of suggestions for the second week. I think the first week is fine for me, what you listed. And thank you, Sarah. Regarding the land use hearing on Monday, March 10th, it is correct that we have the afternoon hearing 3 to 6. There's a reasonable chance it could spill over into the evening. And so you may want to consult with Leslie Ellis or someone how we might want to put that in. Do we want to reflect that in the calendar? But my understanding is that we would, if we're done by 6, we're done. Otherwise, we would have a dinner break and then resume at 6:30. So you might want to check with folks. I think the only other thing I would mention is that on Thursday, March 13th, Great Outdoors Colorado is having a community event, 6 to 8. I think they're calling it a community dinner, GoCo Colorado, GoCo. And that's at one of our favorite watering holes at the Agave Room, I guess upstairs from the Rio. I think that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sarah, I have a few things. On Thursday, March 6th at 4 p.m., I will be a panelist on the Local Governance and Innovation panel at the Democracy Summit. And I think I had that on my calendar, and I have a habit of removing things accidentally from my calendar, so I wanted to add that back. And then on Wednesday, March 12th, from 11 to 1, I have a joint allocation meeting. I'm on the Works Allocation Committee, but also we will be meeting with the Child Welfare Allocation Committee and the Child Care Assistance Committee as a joint group to look at funding for human services. And then on, I will also be at that CCAP meeting on March 12th from 4:30 until we start the meeting with our planning commission at 6. And then at Thursday, March 13th, I will be at the ribbon cutting in Wellington for the water treatment plant and the water reclamation facility. And I believe we have that scheduled from, I believe, 12 to 1:30 on my calendar. And that's it for me. And I can
Madam Chair.
confirm that. Yes, Commissioner.
I appreciate folks reminding me. I was going to stop by on March 6th and see you present at the Democracy Summit, so I'll be there at the same time. I'm not participating. I just wanted to watch you present. And then also, I also am going to, and I appreciate Commissioner Kafal's, the Great Outdoors Community Dinner. I was going to that after the others. I'm pretty much booked back to back that evening, but you can add that to my calendars where I'm going a little late, but I'll be there at that. Thank you.
Also wanted to welcome you to come to the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization. The Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region meetings are both we're hosting in Larimer County in March. So you can think about whether you want to add that to your calendars. All right. I think that's it for calendaring. So good work. Thanks, Sarah. Sorry, 2 weeks worth is a lot. We'll move on to the consent agenda. It's relatively small, but I will go through the items on the consent agenda now. So the first item is an agreement. It's agreement number Amendment 4 to Agreement for Jail Services. This agreement allows and describes the terms covering the holding of municipal sentenced and pre-sentence offenders from the city of Loveland by the Larimer County Sheriff's Office Jail. So folks may not know, but both Loveland and Fort Collins contract with the jail to be able to have beds available for municipal offenses in the jail. So the total dollar amount to reserve these bed spaces for the city of Loveland is $78,037. We have 2 letters of support. The first one is a Comcast BEAD Round 2 letter of support. So we would be supporting Comcast's request for funding to deploy internet services, broadband in parts of the county. And then the second letter of support is for non-telephone, also for a BEAD grant for broadband support. And so we will be supporting those 2 entities as they seek to government funding for expanding broadband into rural areas of the community. We have 2 liquor licenses. The first one is a liquor license change of manager for HCG Ptarmigan LLC, the Ptarmigan Country Club, and that is a hotel and restaurant license type. The next liquor license is Athletes in Tandem Inc., and that's a special event liquor permit for 6%. We have 5 miscellaneous items. 2 of the items are stipulations as to tax year values. The first one is for a 2023 value, and the second is for a 2024 value. There's more information on those on the website. We are also approving the treasurer's 6-month report. The treasurer furnishes a semi-annual financial report to this board, and it has been published in the newspaper, and we would be the report is from the period of July 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. We will also be approving legislative positions, also available online and on the Secretary of State's website, and approving the Larimer County Fair Board bylaws, which haven't been updated in a while. And our final item on the consent agenda is a resolution designating meadow hawkweed as a noxious weed, adding it to our noxious weed list. We did a public hearing for that yesterday afternoon. There was no public comment on that, but this will allow us to eradicate this noxious weed early and hopefully not have to deal with it in more parts of the county where it can be disruptive to local ecosystems. So that is it for our consent agenda. Would either commissioner like to remove something from the consent agenda? Okay, then I will ask Commissioner Kafalis to make a motion on this.
Thank you. I move to approve the consent agenda for February 25th, 2026.
2000.
I'm jumping ahead, aren't I? 2025. My apologies.
Perfect, no problem. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. Does anyone have a guest besides the guests that are here for the proclamation?
Not today, thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move on to our one and only discussion item, which is a proclamation recognizing March 2025 as Women's History Month. I will ask Lorenda maybe to give a few words, and then we might bring up some guests to see if they have some words as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioners. So you all have recognized Women's History Month over the years to highlight the many ways that women have shaped cultures around the world and in our own community. This proclamation allows us to highlight contributions, to celebrate successes, encourage strong role models, and empower future generations to continue the good work. Our EDI board has reviewed this and had a chance to weigh in on this proclamation that's before you today. So I know we have some guests here to recognize and perhaps to speak. I'm not sure, and I'm sure you all have things to say about the proclamation.
Great, thank you. Commissioner, did you have a guest today? Can you introduce?
Yes, and she is going to make me pay for. I don't think she wants to speak, but I did invite a guest today, and I appreciate her being here. Her name is Wanda Marker. She has been involved with the Larimer County community, especially in the southern part of the county, for decades. She was very much a women leader, professional nurse, nursing manager, and she has done a lot to contribute to the community. Wanda and I serve on the American Association of University Women, which has been empowering women since 1881. And she and that community do a lot to raise money for scholarships. She hosts all the plants at her house when they do a plant sale to raise scholarships for women and young and women of all ages trying to continue their higher education in certain fields like education and public service. And so she's instrumental to the success of that program, and she is a great friend. Wanda and I also, I am the co-founder of the Women's Suffrage National Monument Foundation, which is placing a monument to honor the women's suffrage movement on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., because there is no outdoor monument. And when I asked Wanda to serve on the original and first board, we served together for over 4 years. I was president, and I believe she was board of at large, and I just wanted to have her come. I appreciate her coming today. She also is a proud grandma of some amazing granddaughters, who she is certainly a role model, and she has been just a source of always stepping up and helping the community with needed. So I don't think she wants to speak, but I know she wanted to come and receive the proclamation on behalf of the women that she meets with. And I missed the meeting last night. They had a large AAW meeting last night that I couldn't attend. So I don't think she wants to, unless you wanted to speak, come on up, Wanda, just for a second. She's just here to receive it. But I wanted to make sure you understood why I invited her. And so, yeah. Yes, it was late because so anyway. So, but I just want to explain. Right. Yeah. Yeah, they're actually that group hikes every Tuesday, which I find very frustrating because they choose the day I can't join them when this women hiking group. So yeah. So anyway, thank you for being here, Wanda. You're welcome.
And we also have Rosemary Rader from the National Organization for Women. For folks who aren't familiar with that organization, it's an organization that takes a holistic approach to women's rights. Their priorities are winning economic equality, championing reproductive freedom and other women's health issues, combating racism and violence against women, amongst other things. So, Rosemary, did you want to speak for a few minutes? Okay, perfect.
I just want to thank you on behalf of our chapter here in Northern Colorado for this proclamation. It is so important these days that we can still recognize DEI, even though that's sort of verboten at a federal level these days. I also want to thank all three of you commissioners for coming to the People's March in January, which our chapter was one of the co-sponsors. We appreciate your support very much. For those who don't know, our chapter worked also very hard last year to get Amendment 79 on the ballot and worked for its passage. So we've worked a lot with Planned Parenthood and Coloradoans for reproductive freedom. And we really appreciate the recognition for women because we do feel it's so important. And we're not there yet by any means. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rosemary. Appreciate that. So I will ask Commissioner Shattuck McNally to read the proclamation and then make the motion, and then we will take a little photo. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This means a lot. As you know, we didn't have a women's proclamation when you and I first joined the board, and I kind of wrote the original one, and it was kind of evolved over time. But this means a lot to me because having this proclamation is special to me, especially working for almost 8 years now in the space of trying and learning so much about Colorado and national history, but also just trying to make sure that the women who worked for almost 100 years to get the right to vote for all women is that we don't forget that history. And so I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. And then I hope I can still make some comments after that. But the proclamation for Women's History Month, March 2025. Whereas the Women's History Month recognition began in one town in 1978 when a task force of the Sonoma County Commission on the Status of Women celebrated Women's History Month in Santa Rosa, California. This week was chosen to include International Women's Day, March 8th. And whereas the movement spread to other communities, and in 1980, women's groups and historians asked the federal government for recognition. President Jimmy Carter proclaimed the week of March 8th, 1980 to be National Women's History Week, and whereas the recognition was renewed by later presidents until 1987, when Congress designated March as Women's History Month. And whereas throughout our history, women have fought tirelessly to further our democracy's reach and help with progress towards a more perfect union. Through protests and activism, generations of women have advocated for the values and character of our nation. And whereas generations of women have fought to give meaning to the idea that we are all created equal and widen the circle of opportunity for all. And whereas women of every race, class, socioeconomic, and ethnic background have served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social and legislative change movement. and have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways, including as trailblazers in science, the arts, education, business, social services, nonprofits, and government at all levels. And whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the workforce working inside and outside of the home. And whereas women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation. And whereas women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation and continue to fill a majority of these roles in these fields. And whereas women have served our country courageously in military conflicts, and women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and sustainable future movement, and the peace movement, and other social movements which create a more fair and just society for all. Whereas, despite all of the aforementioned contributions, the recognized and unrecognized role of women in history have been largely diminished, excluded, and erased, both in record as well as history that is taught. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Larimer County Board of County Commissioners does hereby proclaim that March 2025 is designated as Women's History Month and invites all to visit www.womenshistorymonth.gov to learn more about the generations of women who have left an enduring legacy in our nation's history, dated this 25th day of February 2025. And Madam Chair, I move that the Board of County Commissioners, sorry, I'm getting back to my electronic thing here, sorry, I move to approve the proclamation recognizing March 2025 as Women's History Month. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Further discussion, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank Rosemary and Wanda for being here today. As you know, I'm also a proud member of NOW. Just a lot of great organizations. There's just not enough time to be as involved with all those that I would like to be. I want to thank the folks at the Sonoma group, because that's how I first started writing that commission or this proclamation back when we first did this. And they have a great website, and they provided a template for other women to start and have something for International Women's Day and also Women's History Month. Commissioner Stevens and I will be in Washington, D.C. next week, and certainly there is some great history to look at and to explore in our nation's great capital to honor and think about the work that women have done over the years. I do think that part of the wording in the proclamation is intentional because there is a lot of unrecognized work that women do every day in our communities, where it's volunteering, being election judges, making sure seniors have meals delivered to their homes, volunteering at school districts, coming to public comments and speaking their voices, and also organizing marches for the community to feel like they have a voice. So I want to first thank all of the women who sit on these boards and contribute so much of their time and passion, and also look to help other generations coming up to make sure that they are valued and come along and be a part of the work that we do, because it's the widening. Also in the proclamation, talk about widening the circle for all, because whatever we do for making sure that women have a voice or that are enfranchised into our community, the work is widening the circle for all community, everyone in the community to have a voice and to be recognized and valued, and to be a part of forming a more perfect union. Today I'm wearing my Alice Paul brooch that I got in Washington, D.C. Alice Paul was a very vocal leader of the women's suffrage movement, and she advocated and worked hard with hundreds of women across the country to secure passage of the 19th the 19th Amendment of the to the U.S. Constitution, which granted women the right to vote. She also authored the next Equal Rights Amendment in 1923, which is yet to be adopted. So I wanted to make a comment on that. Also, she went and worked on embracing gender equality and education for women and working to improve working conditions for all people and to improve in society. She got a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania in 1910, and she is also the founder and the woman who started the National Women's Party, which is involved into other groups as has gone on. So I just wanted to say that this little brooch is actually when she was jailed and tortured in jail for standing up for rights of all Americans. And so I feel like today this means a lot to me, and just wanted to say that we stand on the shoulders of a lot of folks in this country who worked hard to protect women's right to free speech and peaceful assembly, and also to make sure that we are becoming a more perfect union. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Koufalis.
Thank you, colleagues. Don't have much to add. I think the proclamation speaks well why we honor Women's History Month and International Women's Day, I think, on March 8th. I will go out of my way to be especially nice to one of my spouse, who is one of the significant women in my life. So I will commit to being very nice and spending quality time with her. I appreciate the folks who are here and their representation. I'm glad we're able to do this proclamation every year. I think it's incredibly important. We are living in very uncertain times regarding issues related to equality, issues related to people's fundamental rights, and certainly women's rights. So this is even that much more important that we are doing this today. Don't have much else to add. I think it's been said well.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll just say that, this is a great time to reflect on the women that have come before us and really paved the way so we were able to accomplish bigger and better things and assume roles of leadership. And so I think about their accomplishments and their courage because it was very difficult. It was very difficult road, as Commissioner Shattuck McNally alluded to. Women were jailed and beaten and disparaged for asking simply for the right to vote, amongst other things. And so it's important to look. I was a history major in college, so but I think that everybody agrees it's important to kind of look back and reflect on history and make sure that we don't make the same mistakes again. Make sure that we're advocating for equality for everyone. And I think so. This is a great reminder of that we need to do that. And I just want to talk briefly about economic equality. So there's a lot of things that women have achieved. We obviously have the right to vote and even the right to hold our own credit cards and all kinds of fun things. But we have not achieved economic equality. And so that's a real barrier for women to achieve. Women who have babies maybe out of wedlock or at a young age are still, doomed to a life of poverty. And so as we think about, all the achievements that we've been able to have over the years, I think it's really important to remember that there are a lot of women that are still really struggling, that there's a lot of women that struggle with domestic abuse and poverty issues and not being able to get ahead in the workplace. And we still know that there's positions in our own state where women haven't been the governor and women haven't held a role as a U.S. senator in our own state. So there is work to do. Representation does matter. It matters for young women to see women in positions of power, and our government and our society works better when we achieve that equality. So we will keep working on that. And I thank you for the women that are here in the audience and the women leaders that we have in the county that are showing that women our great leaders can move things in a very positive and good direction, and that have equality and in mind when they do their work. So thank you all for being here. And yeah, we will take a vote on that motion then. All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. And we will pause for a moment to take a photo, if Tom's okay with that. All right, we are back, and we are moving on to our next agenda item, which is our county manager update.
Thank you, Commissioners. There was quite a bit of community connection last week, so I'll start with some of the administrative meetings that I had with the Fort Collins Chamber of Commerce CEO Ann Hutchinson, City of Fort Collins City Manager Kelly DiMartino, and City of Loveland City Manager Jim Thompson, along with the Deputy City Manager Rod Wensing. So we have those meetings periodically to make sure that we are working on the same kinds of things. At least we understand the work that each organization is doing. And so those collaborations are very effective, I think, for serving our community. In addition to that, Commissioner Kafalis and I attended the Community Corrections Advisory Board meeting along with the training that was done the hour before that. It was very effective training. This group is very committed to our community corrections program in the county and is always looking for ways to make improvements to that program and to the system, and are happy to weigh in. We also had Commissioner Shattuck McNally and I met with Colorado State Forester Matt McCombs. That was a fascinating meeting. Director McCombs has a fascinating background across the United States, and the work he does in Colorado for forest health is really inspiring. And then we all participated in the federal roundtable discussion with our representatives from the federal delegation, their staff members. That was, I think, a very good meeting where we got to talk about some of the county's issues related to some of the federal funding and create some understanding and a dialogue between those offices. And we had a joint work session with the Town of Wellington trustees on growth management area designation and the agreement that goes along with that. It's always a great meeting in Wellington. The trustees are very engaged and ask great questions in representation of their community. And you all who have been through this before are kind of a font of wisdom as we talk about experiences we've had and some of the things that could be in one of those agreements. And then finally, last night, I think all of us went to the City of Fort Collins State of the City event. It's always great to see the community come out to hear what the city is up to. And their report is online if anyone is interested in seeing that. A lot of great things happening in our community. It's fun to celebrate with another organization the good things that they've done. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Lorinda. Any questions for Lorinda? Okay. We will move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, would you like to get us started?
Sure. Thanks, Madam Chair. So I will just start with, we had, I don't know if you mentioned this, Lorinda, but we had our joint meeting with the Wellington last week, and I want to thank Wellington for a nice dinner, a warm welcome, and the staff and the town trustees were very cordial and inviting. I thought we had a really wonderful, powerful conversation, and just appreciate all the discussion and great partnerships. Certainly feels like we have a strong relationship with the town of Wellington, and I celebrate the work that they're doing. They got a grant to kind of redo some of their downtown and address some pedestrian safety and increase some parking. And so I just really congratulate them on the work that they do for their community. And I'm sorry I'm going to miss the ribbon cutting. I appreciate for their wastewater and water treatment plant. And I appreciate Commissioner Stevens being there. And the federal roundtable was a very powerful conversation. Our staff, a lot of service directors, a lot of staff put a lot of subject matter expertise into that. And I want to thank and appreciate the staff for all the work they did to pull that together. So we had numbers and data to kind of discuss about some of the concerns we have and where we're going to be impacted. I did testify on some bills last week at the State Senate's Ag Committee and others on some wildfire bills. One of them is the prescribed burn reciprocity bill for burn bosses, and some things we're trying to do to help reduce wildfire risk in Colorado and Larimer County. Just want folks to understand that as commissioners, we do go and testify and get down to the state capitol, work a lot on legislation, and that's not always talked about here in our meetings, but we are very active at the state legislature, making sure that counties' voices are heard and thought of. The Big Thompson Watershed Health Partnership meeting was last week. There was a wrap up and update as they're working on still kind of they're doing a lot of stakeholder work and trying to work on how they the wildfire risk assessment plan that they're doing. And there was some I took a screenshot and I got those updated. I'm going to try to print that out so that my colleagues have a map. There's been a consultant, they're working on the wildfire risk. And the picture of the map shows the wildfire risk and the priority areas. And I think you'll find that map pretty startling and stark. So I wanted, if you all remind me, I will print that out because I did ask for that to get sent to me. We did have a wonderful meeting with Congressman Neguse as he came to our office with his staff, and I appreciate all the electeds being there. We had a great conversation with him, and that was on February 19th. I went to the Warner College Natural Resources. I was doing two things at once. I kind of came out of the CCAT all-member meeting, but I went in person to the Warner College Natural Resources Student Networking Group, which is really a fantastic time to connect with folks. Since I serve on the Colorado Forest Health Council, I didn't represent the Forest Health Council, but a lot of folks associated with the university or that college and stuff really thought I should be there, and it was great to talk with some students because I overheard some of them talking about how they're really interested in policy work and getting involved at the government level and trying to find out how they get involved with certain activities and I kind of caught my attention. So I ended up I counted over 30 students and directing them to kind of our Larimer County Conservation Corps and some other people that were there, and it was really exciting, and they were really it kind of lifted their spirits to know we cared and that we thought there was still a lot of hope and that and how how much we valued their education into being land stewards and into natural resources. So I really enjoyed that evening. And then of course we had our county commissioners meeting. We had a great meeting with the state forester, who's involved with a lot of national activities as well. And we had a lot of talk about wildfire risk here in Larimer County, which is very important. I attended briefly the Larimer Stewardship Advisory Board. As you all know, a lot of that meeting was to talk about some of the noxious weed that we all placed on our noxious weed thing last night, and just to this group only meets quarterly, and it's a very active, very engaged group, and so the conversations continued. And then I traveled down to the Conservation Colorado event, where it was a legislative forum where I was able to connect with other commissioners and have some one-on-one and state legislators and some of our federal delegation and Attorney General and other folks who were down there talking about some of the legislative work and conservation work and of course water and wildfire. So that was a very productive event to go to. On February 21st, we had our Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting after we had just voted on our legislative priorities for 2026. We're kind of anticipating in 2026 there won't be a lot of money to do for certain bills, but we're looking at some changes in state statute to kind of increase our ability to work collaboratively with all agencies across the state. And then I spent a lot of time on the steering committees off and on, participating with especially the public lands and natural resources, and listening in the morning on the human services. I wanted to share with my colleagues. I felt really excited. I took a lot of pictures to be willing to share them with you. I traveled up to Estes Park to the Estes Park Housing Authority ribbon cutting for the Fall River Village, which is an already established they were all kind of a group of condominiums or townhouses all together that were really used a lot for rentals and stuff, but it's in kind of that west side where there are already hotels and things. So this is already established, but it was bought by the Estes Park Housing Authority using some of the 6E money, which is the stakeholder meeting or the lodging tax that goes for workforce and childcare. Also used Prop 123 funds. Also used some of the money from the town's funds for rentals, and then the Colorado Chafa Colorado Housing Finance Authority was involved, and John Cullen, the owner of the Stanley, took a very multi-million-dollar hit in lowering the price to be able to make this all come in 35. I think it was 35 days, $35 million to work out this deal, which was very innovatively structured and done. But I toured at least 5 or 6 of those condominiums and townhouses, gorgeous, right along a transportation corridor, and talked to a lot of folks who already have moved into some other of the housing authority and workforce areas. And the stories and listening and talking to the board, talking to the mayor of Estes Park. It was really a fun evening. I spent more time up there than I thought I would, but really fantastic project, and really a model for an innovative model of how maybe we can work together across multiple sectors to solve some of this housing crisis in some very unique areas. And I think I have other things, but I think that's all I'll share for now. And on that very positive note, thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kafalis, anything to share?
I'll just add a couple of things, 3 things. One has already been mentioned. I also was at the Warner College of Natural Resources, and always enjoy interacting with students, some of the faculty, colleagues that I hadn't seen in a while. So that was a good event. It's a little bit tough to warm up to all that networking and socializing, but I appreciate that folks approached me, and we had some nice conversations. I think very helpful conversations. Also, the other 2 things. One is that I did a walk along, ride along with the person who runs the Fort Collins Police Services HOPE team, which is homeless outreach and proactive engagement, Sergeant Annie Hill. Leah Rodriguez and I went with her for about 2.5, 3 hours. It was Wednesday morning. That was still a very cold morning, like about 5 degrees. And it was pretty insightful to see how she works and what they do and how many folks were sleeping outside or in inoperable vehicles on such cold nights. So that was a good experience. And then finally, I did meet with two residents and one of the organizers for Me Vos met with folks who are residents of the Aspen Mobile Home Park. Uh, they're dealing with some difficult conditions and circumstances, so hopefully we can find a way to support their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm going to forego my report today since we have a lot of business to get done in our executive session. So, Commissioner Kavalis, I will ask you to make a motion to move us into executive session.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of County Commissioners enter into executive session pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402, 4E, and 4B to determine positions, develop strategy, and instruct negotiators related to the acquisition of public road right-of-way for the Taft Hill Road Improvement Project, and for conferences with an attorney for legal advice about eminent domain authority and process, and to potentially initiate condemnation proceedings for portions of parcels 973-420-8007, 973-420-8006, 973-420-8005, 973-420-8002, 973-420-8001, 973-420-5005, and finally 973-420-5004.
Thank you, Commissioner. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay, I will just say that there is a decision expected after this executive session, so we will be coming on the air after our executive session. And so we will pause for a moment to go into that executive session, but there's a motion on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 2-0, and we are moving into executive session. Thanks, and we'll be back soon. Good morning again. We are back from our executive session, and I'm going to turn things over to our county attorney, Bill Rousseau, to explain the motion and the action we're going to take.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. The county has a road improvement project that it's working on South Taft Hill Road. The project requires the acquisition of public right-of-way for the road project to construct the improvements, and then also some temporary construction easements that would allow the staging of, the access to property to construct the improvements. And so it's a combination of permanent road right-of-way and some temporary construction easements. And county staff have been negotiating with the property owners that are adjacent to the needed right-of-way. They've reached agreement with the majority of the property owners, but there are still 7 parcels that are along the project corridor where we've not been able to reach agreement on the purchase of the right-of-way. And so at this point, in order to keep the project moving along on its timeline, I'm here to request the board authorize the filing of a petition in condemnation to acquire the needed right-of-way for these 7 parcels, in addition to some temporary construction easements for the project to continue moving along its timeline. Rusty with County Engineering is here, and I've asked him to give you just a brief overview of the project, present a map that identifies the 7 parcels that we're talking with, and then I can come back and make the specific request. So I'll turn it over to Rusty.
Thank you, Bill. Welcome, Rusty.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Rusty McDaniel with the County Engineering Department. As Bill mentioned, we're talking about the Taft Hill widening project. We started this project back in 2019, and it's a partnership with the City of Fort Collins. The project itself is to widen Taft Hill Road between Horsetooth and Harmony on the southern end of Fort Collins. And the goal is to improve the safety and capacity of the road. Right now, as most folks that have driven out in that area know, that it gets really busy with cars. There's not a lot of, especially on the east side, safe places for bikes and pedestrians to move freely. And so the project will create a urban 4-lane cross section, which will be 2 traffic lanes in each direction, a center turn lane, and then bike and pedestrian facilities on both sides of the road. There's currently the bike and pedestrian facilities on the west side, but the east side does not have that. So that would be the goal of the project, is to widen for the additional lanes, and then to have buffered bike lanes and sidewalks for the multimodal component of the project. This map here shows the limits of the project, and then the properties that we needed to acquire right away from are all on this east side of Taft Hill in Imperial Estates, and then the 3 properties down here on the west side, just south of Harmony. And so there's a total of 21 parcels that we needed to acquire property from. As Bill mentioned, we have all but 7 of the parcels acquired, and the ones that are highlighted are just 7 parcels that we've not been able to come to an agreement with the property owners at this point, and hence our reason for being here today.
Great. Thank you, Rusty, for that presentation. Any questions from commissioners? So, Rusty, you were talking about the safety improvements, and right now there's no sidewalk on the east side or bike lanes, and there's quite a few people that live in that area. Is that correct?
Correct.
And was there a community gathering to let people know about the project? And do you have any sense of how people, in the area felt about, the widening of the road and getting some of those bike and ped improvements?
Sure. We did have 2 different public open houses over the course of the project. The first one was back in 2021. It was during COVID, so it was a virtual open house, which those are never as productive as you hope with the number of attendees. But then we did have another one in 2022, and we did have a pretty good or a lot of public showed up to the project and were in favor of the project. Obviously, some of the property owners adjacent to the project were concerned just because of the widening and proximity of the project to their homes, but nobody that I can remember hearing said that they didn't think it was a good project. The need, I think, is pretty obvious for the safety and just the number of vehicles and bikes and pedestrians that use that corridor.
And then just briefly, could you talk a little bit? I mean, like, so there's a lot of congestion. Are there just a lot of cars that are backed up, and this will relieve some of the congestion and pressure during busy times of the day?
Yeah, it'll provide an additional lane in each direction, so to allow for more free flowing traffic, and then also with the bikes and pedestrians, there's less chance that bikes could be in conflict with the cars, which also creates congestion and obviously safety issues. And we did work to even minimize the impacts to the property owners. The right of way for a normal 4-lane section in Fort Collins in our urban area street standards is 115 foot. We did modified section to where it's down to 102 feet, so we have narrower lanes. We compromised and moved the bike lanes and the buffering up off the road a little bit to still provide that safety for bikes, but it's not quite as convenient. So there was a compromise for both vehicles and bikes and pedestrians, but we feel like it was a good alternative to try to minimize the impact to the properties that we're needing property from.
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I think that's important. Is we worked. We know that that acquiring the right of way is can be contentious, and so really trying to minimize the disruption to the people who live along that corridor was really an important piece of that. Okay, thank you. Any further questions, Commissioner Kafalis?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Rusty. Your conversation prompted a question or two on my part, and that is, can you speak to how often your team met with the property owners, how often you communicated with them to try to come to an agreement, and maybe say a little bit about the appraisal process to ensure that whatever offers we provide are fair offers?
Sure, it's a little bit different with each property owner as far as the number, but the process we followed is we notified property owners that we were going to be needing to acquire property once we had the design preliminarily done, and then we moved to doing appraisals of what those impacts were going to be. Those were done, I believe, starting in 2023 and offers made. Then there was negotiations back and forth with the property owners. Some it went really quick, others, such as the ones we're working with today, not as quick. Depending on the issue, the discussion sometimes revolved around locations of a driveway or landscape impacts, that type of thing. So there'd be more conversations geared to those specifics. Other times, people worried about how drainage would impact their property. Other people it wasn't a concern, and so we were able to reach agreement early on. We did provide the property owners were able to get their own private appraisal that the county paid for, and so then there was a third-party appraiser that reviewed both of those appraisals, and then the county ended up offering the highest value that was in the appraisal, which turned out to be the county's appraisal, if that makes any difference. But then there was even a third appraisal done because there'd been enough time that had elapsed between the first appraisal, and as negotiations went on, we went back and had the appraisals updated for the property owners that we hadn't reached agreement yet, and then re-provided final offers to them based on those updated appraisals, and so the communication, we've tried to continue those discussions all through the process with the property owners.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anything further? All right. Well, thank you, Rusty. Appreciate the update, and we'll bring it back to Bill. And Bill, can you advise us?
You bet. So thank you, commissioners. So the request for the board today is that you authorize the filing of petitions and condemnation for the needed right-of-way and for the temporary construction easements. In your packet, you have a proposed motion that would authorize that action. And also in your packet, you have 5 resolutions. There's 1 resolution per property owner. There are 7 parcels, but 5 property owners. So there are 5 separate resolutions that authorize the condemnation petition. Each of those resolutions have an exhibit with a map that identifies the needed right-of-way and the needed temporary construction easements. And so with that, that would be the request, is that you consider the motion. We would ask that you approve it, sign off on the resolutions. The last thing I'll say really quickly is, I think as you can tell from Rusty's presentation, pursuing condemnation really is an absolute last resort. We will continue to be open to negotiations with these property owners despite the board authorizing condemnation if that's the action you take. So I want to make that really clear, that the county is still willing, able, and available at any time for any of these property owners to continue these negotiations. And that's really what we strive for.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill? Commissioner Fallis, I'll ask you to make the motion then, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I move that the, excuse me, I move that the Board of County Commissioners authorize the county attorney to initiate and pursue condemnation proceedings as authorized in Colorado Revised Statutes, Section 43-2-204, for portions of parcels 973-420-8007, 973-420-8006, 973-420-8005, 973-420-8002, 973-420-8001, 973-420-5005, and finally 973-420-5004, as necessary for the Taft Hill Road Improvements Project.
Thank you. Commissioner, there's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? I would just say that thank you, Bill, for reminding us that we don't take this lightly, that this is a measure of last resort, but that this is a good project that we want. It's beneficial for our communities. It's beneficial for the people who live along this corridor, but it's really beneficial for congestion and free movement of vehicles and multimodal transportation. And so that is why we are initiating this action. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. Thank you. And there is no more business to come before this board this morning, so we are adjourned, and we will see you in a couple weeks, Larimer County.
Thank you.